Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Invictus Racing League No Assist Championship. It's Monday night, which means it is here for the No Assist Championship. You're joining me, Gareth, and Sab in the commentary box for round 3 of the championship here at the Circuit Paul Ricard in southern France. And Sab, shaping up to be another fantastic Monday night race.
Oh, most definitely. We've had two dominant Renault wins so far, haven't we, this season? And White Fountain absolutely destroying the field in Monaco last week. It's going to be a completely different race tonight. Sort of masses of runoffs. You're probably going to get more overtaking. You'd imagine you get more overtaking around here rather than at Monaco. So it'd be very interesting to see, are we going to get another dominant display from a Renault driver, or is it going to be a lot closer at the front?
Yeah, of course. We've had two very, very strong drives to start the season. I'm hoping the race is a little bit closer at the front because although it is impressive to see these guys just run off into the distance, you always want to see that close battle between drivers on the grid. Although we have had that for the podium positions in the last few races, and if you haven't checked it out already, round 2 was around the streets of Monte Carlo, Monaco, and round 1 was in Spielberg, Austria, and we had the opening race was a fantastic start where we saw a 5-car battle over third place, and then last week we saw a fantastic battle over second as well. So make sure you check them out on our YouTube channel, and you can find that at Invictus Racing League on YouTube. But for tonight, it is the French Grand Prix, as I said, and it's 15 corners, 6 to the left, 9 to the right, 5.8 kilometres, that's just over 3.6 miles. Former test circuit, which is why the track, of course, has those luminous strips all over. The strips, of course, indicating the different kind of, the different sort of viscosity in the asphalt. Of course, they use obviously blue is always medium, red is extreme, and the grey I believe is light. And it's going to be 27 laps, full throttle, around 58 to 60% of the lap, 46 gear changes over that distance, an average of 1240 over that 50% race. This F1 layout that we run tonight with the 15 corners, one of 167 potential layouts we could do around here, where the cars will be hitting a top speed around 325 kilometers an hour, just a smidge over 201 miles an hour on the Mistral straight down towards that chicane, which unfortunately has been put in because you'd love to see the cars blast their way out of the end of the first section all the way down to the famous Scene corner. And Sab, it's a track that kind of splits opinion. Some people like it, some people don't. It will promote a little bit more overtaking, but it can be a tricky circuit.
It most definitely can. It was deemed very boring, wasn't it, early in the season in F1? And you talk about that long straight. They actually use the long straight fully in sports car racing, and it is absolutely fantastic to see them just blasting down there. Like you say, it is a shame they don't get to do that in Formula One, because I can imagine we'd probably get some fantastic slipstreaming happening down there. But like you say, this track, it's not a particular favourite for some people. I personally like this track. It's got some good challenging corners, and there's opportunities to get some moves done, especially if you don't get some of the corners done right and you don't get into that straight set out. Okay, you are acceptable to an overtake from the DRS. So hopefully tonight we should have a better race than what Formula One managed to give us early in the season.
Yeah, let's hope so. And the last time we were here was actually 2 seasons ago. We missed it out last season. It was won by SJD, and that was in the performance era of the No Assist League. So it will be equalled up a little bit more tonight. But SJD, a former race winner around here, so look out for him tonight. See if he's still got the pace. And we've got a new driver joining the league. Unfortunately, we've got a few missing tonight, and one including the current champion, Boy Better Know SB, Scott. He'll be missing tonight, but we do say good evening and welcome to the league to Mr. Stim. Stim, of course, has raced here in Invictus with us for many seasons, joins the No Assist League, and it's going to be an interesting session because we know Stimmy has definitely got some pace in him.
Yes, he has. I've raced against Stim a few times in performance leagues in the past, and he can be a real pain in the backside, so to speak. Even if I had the fastest car, you just couldn't get him off your tail. He's super quick, and he can pull out some fantastic overtakes. I can't wait to see how he gets along tonight. He's a very, very quick guy. It'd be great to see him battle against some of the other quick guys tonight.
Yep, and good to see new drivers join the league. And there still are spaces, guys, so if you're watching for the first time, welcome to Invictus. Hopefully Sab and I can talk you through a fantastic Grand Prix. If you're watching for the first time, you can find us at InvictusRL on Twitter and Instagram, Invictus Racing League on Facebook, and InvictusRacingLeague.com. If you want to get yourself on the grid, there are still spaces on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Wednesday nights. So make sure you sign up to get yourself on the grid as soon as possible and get in touch with one of our admin team. But going back to the track tonight, it's one of those. It's south of France, so it's not famed for its poor weather, but we have seen rain here in the past. And one of the little facts I love about this circuit is it was bought by the company that Bernie Ecclestone used to run very in the 90s, and it was actually the first circuit to test out his sprinkler little theory that he wanted to bring into Formula One. So Paul Ricard actually had the sprinkler system involved. So it would be interesting to see rain tonight. We've obviously seen it in the last few weeks that rain definitely spices up a few races, and could it do so tonight?
Oh, I think it certainly could if we do get it. We haven't had a wet race yet. It will definitely, like you say, certainly spice it up and test these guys' limits. Wouldn't it be good if we could get control of these sprinkler systems and, as commentators, just decide, oh, let's switch it on now and really challenge these guys? Bernie's idea of a sprinkler system doesn't look too bad of an idea now, does it? Especially after what we saw in Hockenheim with the mixed conditions. Like I say, it should be good tonight. It'd be good to see rain if we get it, just to see what these guys can do. But either way, I think it should be a close battle for the lead and podium.
Yep, going to be a real cracker this evening. Of course, third round of the No Assist Championship. And just whilst we're waiting for the guys in the lobby for the final person to join in, just quickly run through what we've got coming up for you this week. And of course, tonight, as always, Monday nights are No Assists. These guys running completely no assists, apart from they do have the racing line if they want. However, if you do run the racing line, you will be getting less points than those that are not running it. So the guys that are running fully no assists will be getting 4 extra points for every position that they finish. So obviously 15 points usually for a first place finish. If you're running without the racing line, that makes it 19 points. And if you count that with a fastest lap of the race, which we potentially could see, that's 20 points for a race victory around here. So it really does promote these guys and incentivize them to push themselves into going fully no assists. And it's definitely one of those tracks that we do see overtaking. Of course, there are positions, two DRS zones on the exit of turn 15 down to turn 1, and of course on the fast exit of turn 7 down to that chicane at turn 8. And apart from that, it's very tricky to follow these cars in front, isn't it, Sab? Because you can, especially in the second to third sector, really get caught in that dirty air, which could potentially catch a lot of these guys out.
Yeah, most definitely. There is a lot of fast-flowing corners, and there also is some quite slow corners as well. It's especially some of the fast-flowing cars. If you catch a guy up too quickly, you can easily lose it and run out wide and get onto the dirty stuff and potentially lose a place or two. It's like we said, it's a very tricky track, isn't it? It has the potential. You might have gone round it in time trial and what have you. It's the potential to be a nice flowing track when you're out there on your own, but like you say, if you're following a car closely, it can really upset the balance of your car, and you can find it really tricky to keep it on the track if you're not careful.
Absolutely. And going back to the rest of the week, Tuesday nights, it's the Performance League, so realistic performance. You get selected a car by your last week's result or basis of pace. Of course, gets taken into accord by the admin team. They look at the times in qualifying and the times during the race. You'll get allocated a car dependent on your pace, and so it should even up what is a very, very strong grid on Tuesday nights. And then, of course, on Wednesday nights, you've got the equal performance leagues, F1, F2, and F3. Some of the most fun and exciting racing you'll find anywhere on or F1 Esports on the PS4, and that's here with Invictus Racing League. And we're just watching the guys. I think we should shortly be ready to ready up, and hopefully we will be able to grab the guys that finish on the podium into the commentary box at the end of the race and be able to find out their thoughts. And we had a couple of nice comments from the likes of White Fountain last week, and we've had Sammy the Pitto on the podium for the last few races. And is there anyone on the grid tonight that you're looking at perhaps as a shock entrant to the podium? Not, obviously, we see our guys are quite regulars. Is there anyone there that could probably jump up onto maybe a second or a third place, or perhaps even a win if they really, really go above and beyond?
One guy who we mentioned earlier is Mr. Stim. If he gets in his groove and finds a right setup and really gets going, I could see him potentially stealing a podium today. He's very, very quick, but I'd also like to say, based on how well he's done so far in no assist, I'd like to say Nick Thompson. He's done well so far. The first race he was very unlucky in the end not to pick up a podium in Austria, and he didn't do too badly in Monaco either. So if he can get a good setup right, and if there's mixed conditions, who knows, he could sneak into the podium. So a couple of those guys, I think, if it plays out for them all right, I think there's potential there to pick up a podium, because like we say at the minute, it's a bit mixed up, isn't it? The guys who we expected to be running out there at the very front, Boy Better Know, Scopefielder, and a few others, just quite haven't been there yet, like we usually expect them to be. So there's opportunities, isn't there, for some of the guys a bit further down to potentially steal a place on that podium.
Absolutely, and one of those people that has yet to stand on the podium, although we're only 2 races in, is Speed Queen. And Speed Queen, of course, a 3-time XN no assist champion here at Invictus, and she's always ever consistent. She finishes high up in the points, but yet to stand on the podium, and hasn't won a race in a long time. Oh, and there, wow, whoa. There we go. Wow. So as we were talking earlier about the rain, it is teeming down here at Paul Ricard, just outside Le Castellet, and well, that's going to make the session much trickier, and I'm sure the smiles and joyful nature of all of our drivers probably just sunk as they looked out of their garages and saw the rain streaming down across the French circuit.
Oh, most definitely. I just had a look. It's set them all on intermediate tyres, so it can't be too bad. It looks bad from our point of view, but it seems if they've been allocated inters, you would imagine it's good enough for those. But it's going to be really interesting to see, isn't it? Because if it's only wet in qualifying, we could have some real mix-up strategies for the race, with many of the guys going for probably a medium run at the start to try and go long. So it's going to be fascinating to see who manages to steal a pole position tonight, because with these conditions, it's really anybody's guess who could potentially get that pole position, because it's round here as well. We didn't really mention it earlier, but round here as well, it is really easy to run wide and invalidate your lap. And with the extra tricky conditions of these wet conditions now, it's only going to make it even harder to keep the cars on the track.
Yeah, absolute contrast to what we saw last week in Monaco, where of course the barriers give you your guidelines of where you can and can't put the car. Here, very easy to run offline, run over those rumble strips, and the rumble strips around here can be very, very tricky indeed, because they tend to unsettle the car, especially on these long corners around Scene towards the end of the lap, and around turn 11 and turn 12. So the cars have got to really, really be careful, and it does look like, as you said, everyone out there on the green-walled intermediate tyres. And Scopefielder's the first one out on track. He's just coming up to the Scene corner now. That famous right-hander you take at full speed in the dry, not so much in the wet. But he was drifting around the first sector, so there's a bit of Scandinavian style from the Swedish driver there. But Scopefielder, always up for a decent race. We've seen him in the last few weeks or so, unfortunately dropping down the order. Didn't have a good race last week in Monaco, was in 9th position. But Scopefielder, you would expect him to be towards the front tonight, if not challenging for that victory.
Most definitely. Like you pointed out last week, he had a tricky race by his standards, didn't he? He did the switcheroo with his teammate to try and push ahead and then put it in the barrier, and it really hampered his race. It's one of those tracks, isn't it, Monaco, that even the very best drivers can have a tough time round there. It's just going to bite you if you're having an off day. But Schofield, I've no doubt he'll be wanting to rectify last week's troubles, and probably have put the time in to get the absolute best strategy for tonight, and hopefully for his sake as well. Hopefully he can get the car back at the front where he believes he should be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a 28.7 for the first sector from Scope, so we'll see how representative that is at the end of this lap. And he's just coming up to a slow McLaren there. Can't see if that's Dragio or I believe it is Dragio who's on his outlap going slowly. But Scopefield are now up to the chicane, of course, in the middle of that straight. Breaks up that back straight a little bit. Getting a good launch. There is a slightly darker line, so not too wet out on circuit for these guys. Now it'll be interesting to see how he takes this corner. You can see lifting in 7th gear there, just on board mid, turning in. Very brave to get up onto those curves, and now just scrub that speed off. Don't let the revs drop too low though, because as soon as you kick the throttle pedal back down, you'll lose the back end, and he's off the apex there. You can see struggling to get any grip into these corners, the car twitching side to side, and Schofield now coming into the final 2 corners of the lap. What is the first lap going to be? He's going to come to the final corner now. Turn 15 just kisses the apex of that corner nicely. Sector 3 is under yellow, but Scope's going to come across the line. It's a 1:43.6 to start the qualifying session.
Yeah, the yellow flag was for Nick. Oh, as Charlie, I was just on board with Charlie down the straight there, and it kicked right underneath him, and he nearly went into the wall on the right hand side near the pit entrance there. Very lucky to hold on to that. He takes it into second place with 1:44.4. But yeah, Nick, he was on a hot lap, and in the final sector he just drifted wide, and it's really compromised his run, and he allowed Charlie, who was not far behind him, to get past. But that was the reason why there was yellows there. So Nick struggled a little bit. He's straight back into the pits. It's M. Doran, who had a great race last race, didn't he, M. Doran? He's just posted his fastest time of a 1:46.1.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up as you take the words out of my mouth. M. Doran with a fantastic race in Monaco last week, and the Irishman with his first podium in a while. But unfortunately, that 1:46.1, he's going to have to go a lot quicker if he's going to challenge up the front. And we've seen from M. Doran in the first 2 races this season, his qualifying pace has definitely been elevated compared to what we've seen in the past, and he's definitely improved. And I think you see that from a lot of drivers here, and it's just getting used to running no assists. And these guys such as MJ Coop, who's dropped into the comments to say good evening, is a shame to not have you on the grid tonight, mate, and but hopefully you'll enjoy the race. But the guys like Nick, like Coop, like M. Doran, that are relatively newer to the no assist league, it's especially in these conditions as well, it really does test you out, but in effect it makes you a much better driver.
Yeah, most definitely. You want to experience these types of conditions, don't you? Probably sooner rather than later, really, because if you just keep racing dry races, when these do creep up on you, it can really catch you out, can't it? I'm currently sat on board with White Fountain now. He's just coming around the final corner now. What can he do? He's coming towards the start-finish line now. Can he get up there with Schofield? He's come across the line. He's gone fastest with 1:43.3, 3/10 of a second faster than Schofield. So White Fountain, early stages, yes, but he's doing exactly what he did last week.
Yep, the Belgian takes top spot, provisional pole position with 11 minutes left to go in the session. We've got Humberstone coming across the start-finish line now. We've got the McLaren of M. Doran goes up and does a 1:45. Humberstone matches that time almost to the 100th of a second. And above them, Speed Queen goes up onto the second row of the grid, makes it an all-Ferrari second row at the moment, third and fourth, as she does a 44 flat. Who else have we got on track? We've got Beck 9000. Sammy the Pitto's coming across the line now. Looks like he's starting his flyer. Beck 9000 in the Toro Rosso, and his Toro Rosso teammate Adria Lockdock. They're down without setting a lap, but Beck coming up to the final 3 corners now. That sweeping turn at turn 13. Tight turn 14. It really seems to go on forever. Now you have to get it slowed down very hard for turn 15. It's very easy to run out wide there. And Beck 9000 now is going to come across the line. What can he do? He's going to jump up into 6th position. It's a 1:44.7 for the Toro Rosso.
Oh, with Meg has retired. Now, I don't know if he was out on track, but Meg has retired. He's out of the session. So if he was on track, that has really cost him dear.
I can tell you where it's happened, Sab. It's happened at the exit of turn 5, I believe, onto the first DRS straight, and it looks like he's lost it coming out of the corner. And yeah, you could see a Red Bull turn 7, sorry, not turn 5, and he'd buried it into the wall by the looks of it. So,
oh dear.
Meg Luckby, it's a 145 flat at the moment that he's going to have to sit on, and this is where, unfortunately, the rain. We obviously don't know what the rain is going to carry over into the next session or not, but that could have him starting inside the top 10. But then equally, we've got a lot of cars that potentially can go much quicker.
Oh, most definitely. I was just about to say exactly that. As the guys get and the girls get to grips better with this track, they should, in theory, only get better as they start to find where the grip is and isn't. And unfortunately for Meg, he could find himself starting quite far down as Sam, mega lap there from Sam, a 142.9 in his Haas. That has really set the benchmark for the others around him at the minute. He's a good, 3-4 tenths faster than second place at the minute, so super lap there from Sam.
Yeah, great lap from the Spaniard. He puts himself up and makes it a Haas 1-3. On board here with Nick L.J. Thompson in the Alfa Romeo. He's coming up to the final corner of the circuit, turn 15. Nicely done there for Nick, and he's going to come across the line. God, the back end of that Alfa getting a little bit squeamish. It's a 146.2 for Nick, and the good thing about these sort of conditions, Sam, it's not quite like when you're running those dry tyres where you only really get 1, possibly 2 laps on the tyres before they really start to die, and you start to look at how you're going to use that strategy going into the race. When you're in wet conditions, you can load up the car with a little bit of fuel and just go out there and just hope that the cars shift a little bit of this water on the circuit and they create a little bit of a drier line, and the times can fall. So it's not really one of those things where you have to continuously change tyres. You can see a lot of time kind of just falling off as we've got a Toro Rosso that's just, who is that? Is that Adrian Lockdock? It is. I saw him just coming out of turn 6. They got all out of shape and go straight into the wall. So that's a yellow flag at the entry to sector 2 there. But Adrian Lockdock lucky to stay in the session. And as I was just saying about staying out there on used tyres and just hoping to get some better lap times, Adrian Lockdock, he's going to have to come in, and that means a fresh pair of boots, I'd imagine, for that Toro Rosso.
He's been struggling so far this evening. I was watching his first timed lap earlier, and he was doing his best Fast and Furious impression in Sector 3. He was all out of shape and drifting around one of the corners, and that really hampered him and cost him a lot of time there, but he managed to keep on the track for his lap time. So he's struggling a little bit out there with that. He's gone wide again, so clearly the setup on that Toro Rosso at the minute is not right. He'll probably be coming back in to try and change things up there, but struggling at the minute in that Toro Rosso for Adrian Lockdock.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is it's a tricky conundrum for these drivers, because if we are expecting a dry race, of course they will have set their cars up for a dry setup, because obviously Parc Ferme would indicate that there's going to be a dry setup, a dry race. So it would be tricky for these guys that would be running maybe less downforce than what they would do if it was going to be a wet race. So it makes it even trickier for these guys to really choose what that optimum setup is to get a good lap in qualifying, but then equally transfer it over to the race.
Yeah, I agree. And with setup as well, if it is a dry race, do you try and focus and put a setup for dry weather conditions and sacrifice qualifying a little bit? It's tricky, isn't it? Because obviously we don't know what the weather conditions are going to be. White Fountain does very well to interrupt me there and goes 142.8, fastest again. So White Fountain showing that he's a real contender this season, and once again puts it in that pole position place.
Yep, Sam 1/10 faster in that last sector as well, and he's coming up to the final few corners now, so he's going just over 1/10 faster. That's going to put him really, really close. And is he going to box? He boxes, so perhaps a late little incident there that's corner cutting. Luckily for the rest of the league, we're hoping that the new update for PS4 will come out to install the new pit lane, because of course at the moment these guys are using that old pit lane, which is a very, very tricky one, especially in these conditions, and unfortunately very unforgiving when it comes to time penalties, and equally two very large Armco barriers on either side of that entry, and could potentially catch out some drivers this evening.
Oh, most definitely, especially if you're following in the race and you're following closely by and you pick up DRS and you don't quite realise they're going into the pit lane. You could find yourself running very closely into the back of one of the guys going into pit lane. As you were speaking there, Schofield has jumped up from 4th to 2nd place now. He's 8/100ths of a second, about that, behind White Fountain. So a good lap there from Schofield. Both the Hasses in 2nd and 3rd place. Haas, like we've mentioned before, they're a very strong team, and once again proving why they are right up there at the money making positions. Schofield obviously been wanting to go even quicker than what he's done, but right on the tail of White Fountain.
Tragio up into 13th position, so 1:47.3. The McLaren driver struggling out there. MJ Coupe comes in and says that White Fountain quickly becoming a championship contender, and you really can't disagree with that one. Where after last week's performance in Monaco, and you can see very strong performance. He's obviously enjoying his time in France.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. He's looking very fast, White Fountain. He struggled the first race, if I remember rightly, but apart from that, he's shown exactly what he can do, and currently he's doing it again tonight. And if he can have another one of those races like he did last week, he's definitely going to be up there as one of the favourites for this league. He's not probably one I would have picked early in the season, but he's proving me wrong a lot at the minute. And he's currently sitting pretty at the minute. Schofield has just completely got it all wrong there in the first corner and completely abandoned that run. So Schofield giving up on that lap there. He's probably going to stick it slowly round and try and maybe have another go. But yeah, it's proving tricky for everybody out there, even the guys at the front.
Yeah, very greasy conditions this evening, and these guys tiptoeing their way around the circuit just on board of Humberstone, coming up to the final corner. Now he's in 10th position at the moment. Can he improve? It looks like he's going to probably... it looks like, yeah, he's going to bail on that one. Or is he? No, he does stick with it, but it's going to be a slower time. So another lap for the Williams driver. He's going to go around. Of course, we've got 2 minutes 43 seconds left in the session, so plenty of time for one lap. Almost two for a couple of these drivers out on circuit at the moment. SJD on his out lap now. He's down in 8th position. Of course, as I said earlier, the last person to win here in the No Assist League was SJD. He's going to look at making it a double. CPI Alex, 7th position for him at the moment. He seems to be quite on pace with his Ferrari teammate, and him and Speed Queen been sharing a lot of track with each other recently, and it's always good when your teammate has got that pace match with you, because it means you can really work together in the race.
Yeah, most definitely. And you mentioned Speed Queen. She's doing all right tonight, isn't she? She's up there in 4th place at the minute. She's not too far behind Sam. She's just starting her next fastest lap. It'll be interesting to see if she can get any closer to that top 3. But Speed Queen having a better evening so far this evening. Maybe these tricky conditions suit her a lot more than some of the people around her. But yeah, Speed Queen looking good. CPI Alex a bit off the pace of his teammate and me. He'll be hoping to get a bit closer to Speed Queen and try and push those Ferraris maybe into the top 5. But M. Doran earlier as well, he's jumped up from outside the top 10. He's now into 5th place as well. So M. Doran looking good once again in qualifying.
Yep, he's coming across the line, and he's going to set a slower time to probably saved a little bit of battery for one more lap. We've got just over 70 seconds left in the session, and we'll stick on board here with Scopefielder. He's looks like he's going slow, or he's in the first sector. It looks like, yeah, he must have been going because he's had a very slow first. so he's going to struggle to get around to the first corner. Sammy the Pito is going quicker in third position. Can he improve on his 1:42.9? It's going to be close. He does. It's up into provisional pole. It's a 1:42.3, 5/10 of a second faster than White Fountain, who's just about to come up to the start-finish line and start his lap. But Scopefielder, he is not going to be able to, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to set a lap, but there you go. It looks like it's going to be Sam versus White Fountain, unless we can see possibly Speed Queen drop. Oh, it's going to have to be almost a second's worth of time. Is she going to improve? It's a 1:43.1. She's just got across the line, 15 seconds left to go, so she can do one more lap. Equally, Doran, he's got one flying lap at the moment that he's on, so he's in 5th position. SJD is on his last lap as well, so plenty of time to be made, and time has now expired in the session. So if you haven't made it to the start finish line, your session is over, and these final times will count. So we'll see. We've got Stim, unfortunately didn't manage to set a lap, so he's down in 15th. A lot of work for him to do in the race, along with Drojo. Scopefield, he's crossed the line. Like I said, he wasn't going to go any quicker, but he does. He does a 1:42.1. So there goes me saying I know anything about commentary in Formula One. So Scopefield up into provisional pole. Absolutely banging lap there from the Swede. So it's now down to Sam, who looked like he may have just cut the corner there at the entry at turn 11, but we'll see if the time still stands at the end of the session. Doran's crossed the line. He's up into 4th position, improves, does a 1:42.8. The rain looks like it's still kind of at the same intensity, so it's not really slowed enough for these guys to get any benefit of being out there on any on the newer, fresher tyres. But let's see, Sam comes across the line much slower. Looks like he was either out of battery or out of fuel. White Fountain, however, by the looks of it, he was going 3.5 tenths faster. Can he improve? It's going to be a mighty fast lap. Ready for this one? There we go. It's a 1:42 flat from the Belgian. White Fountain is your provisional pole setter, and with Speed Queen, the last person to come across the line, she only goes into 5th position. It's White Fountain who makes it 2 pole positions in a row, and after absolutely blitzing it in Monaco, he's done exactly the same here at Paul Ricard.
We just missed at the end there. FPL Charlie in his Mercedes jumped up, I think he was in about 10th position. He's jumped up to 6th place, so a good final lap there for FPL Charlie. That really promotes his Mercedes. Tonight he's without his teammate, isn't he? So he'll be trying his best to score as maximum points as possible in that Mercedes.
Absolutely. Constructors' points are on the line, of course, at every race, but it's White Fountain in the Renault who takes pole position ahead of Scopefielder and Sammy the Pito in the 2 Haas cars. Doran, another strong qualifying, in 4th, with Speed Queen in 5th, FPL Charlie up in 6th, SJD is 7th, Beck 9000 8th, Nick is in 9th with Alex in 10th, Humbo Stone, Andrew Lockdock, Meg Lugpy, Dragio and Stim all start outside of the top 10, but of course we'll see what the weather conditions are like, because if it is dry, everyone will be having fresh, dry tyres, so it doesn't really give you any advantage starting outside of the top 10. However, if it is wet, these guys at the front have already shown just how much pace they've got. But there you go, blue skies adorn the skies above the circuit, so it's a dry session. So this is it's worked pretty perfectly for the guys up in the top 3, top 4 positions, because they can put a fresh set of whatever tyres they want. And this is interesting, because when you have a wet qualifying session into a drying race, it really shakes up what you get strategy-wise, because you might have several drivers going for different strategies. Do we see guys running the soft tyres and trying to get a quick first stint? Do we see guys running long and trying to put on maybe the hards or a long stint on the mediums? This is one of my favourite parts of watching how these guys think.
Yeah, I agree. You hit the nail on the head. I honestly don't know which way all these guys are going to go. I personally would probably favour the medium tyre and try and run it that bit longer. But if you're not feeling fast, maybe try and go for a soft tyre and try and see if you can jump a few guys early on and try and make some positions up that way. It's going to be fascinating, isn't it? Like you say, from wet to a dry race, you could have any sorts of different strategies going on here. I honestly don't know which way these guys are going to go. be interested to see any second when they get onto the grid what way they're going to go. Probably, me personally, I probably expect the front runners to probably go medium tyre and try and extend that run slightly. But we'll be interested to see, and probably I'll be exceptionally wrong. So we'll be finding out any second.
Well, Coop says that he thinks everyone starting fresh tyres should be it should be an easy one stop with the soft to the mediums or the mediums to the soft. So of course, you want to be on the softest compound tyre as much as possible to get the most out of that tyre and the quickest time around this circuit as possible. But do we look to see these guys possibly the ones starting maybe 8th and down on the harder tyres, running and just changing up that strategy and just giving themselves a little bit of time to think about how they adapt their strategy to make a charge up the front? And it's not one of those tracks that we tend to see too many incidents and crashes on. It's really it is so much runoff that it's very easy to avoid any incidents. So it would be drivers perhaps into braking zones been a little bit too brave. So it's front wing damage here, unfortunately, is one of the worst places on the F1 calendar to get it, because of course you've got so many long corners that any sort of aero damage can really harm your lap time, and especially into the long sweeping bends like seen at turn 10, and it's one of those things that you've really got to watch out for, especially on the opening lap around here.
Yeah, I agree. You can really harm your chances, especially if you do it early on in the race. We are go for the formation lap. Should we have a look at what laps everybody? So I was pretty right, to be fair. The top 5 have all gone medium tyres, with FPL Charlie on the hard tyre. SJD has gone for the soft, with Beck on the medium. Nick opting for a set of softs, and then you've got a big gaggle on the hard. CPI, Alex, Huberso, Adlock Doc, Meg Luppy all on the hard, with Dragio and Mr. Stim on medium. So we've got a real mix there, haven't we, of different strategies. It's going to be fascinating to see if the only 2 soft running guys can make an impression on the harder running guys ahead of them. It would be fascinating to see if they can get anything done.
Yep, top 5 looking like they're going to go for that medium to soft strategy. If possible, try and push these mediums as long into the race. But here, the undercut can work very nicely as well, because obviously you're back out on circuit on fresher rubber. You're getting a lot more grip in these faster corners. So look to see, especially the guys, if it's close up at the front or close between guys on track, someone utilise that undercut and come in for some new rubber a little bit earlier than the guy in front. And it's going to really shake up this race, like you said, with so many strategies in play. And yep, SJD and Nick, they're out there. They've decided to go for the Red Bull soft tyres straight away. So watch them to be lightning off the start with the 2 Alfa Romeos. So they should be pretty pacey into the first 2 or 3 laps. And of course the time will scrub off earlier into the stint. But it's a brave call from both Alfas to go for the soft tyre.
It is, and just looking at them, they'd want to ideally get past Charlie as soon as possible, really, because you don't want to be stuck behind somebody who's running on 2 compounds harder tyre than you, because it really would ruin their races. They'll probably be targeting to try and get both cars into the top 5 and any higher if possible. Like you say, on those soft tyres and be able to get away quicker. Can they make the moves early on and try and extend these soft tyres to last, and hopefully get the jump quickly on them? But like I say, if they get stuck behind someone like Charlie who's on that hard tyre, it could really ruin their chance of scoring good points today.
Absolutely, and White Fountain now coming up to his box at the head of the field. And if you are watching, guys, let us know where you're watching from, who you're rooting for tonight, and what you're hoping to see. But it's going to be White Fountain who's going to have to fend off the Haas cars, which what feels like we've seen a lot of Renault versus Haas so far this season. And it's going to be an absolutely electric start to this one, and you can hear those engine notes rising and rising as we're expecting 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Pause and go. Good wheel spin a little bit there for White Fountain, but it's a good getaway for the Renault driver. The 2 Hasses behind side by side as we head down towards turn 1. It's a great start from White Fountain. He's going to maintain the lead, but you can see there Sam was just taking a look to the inside. In fact, Scopefielder collects one of the cones there, but it's a clean getaway at the back. We've got Speed Queen. She's going to Oh, it's going to be close between her and the McLaren of M. Doran. M. Doran's going to try and stick it around the outside, but it looks like he's going to be jumped by FPL Charlie. Charlie just getting squeezed out there. We've got a yellow flag in the sector 1. It looks like someone might have gone wide. It may be Drajo, who's down in 15th position, but it's a great start from White Fountain. He leads the field ahead of Sam, who's jumped his teammate Scope up into 2nd position. Speed Queen, she's up into 4th, getting past M. Doran, whilst Beck 9000, he's jumped SJD. So even though he started on the softs, SJD is now with his teammate in 8th and 9th position.
Yeah, it's not so good for the Sabres. They'll be wanting to quickly get the hurry on and get past, repast Beck, and focus on trying to get past Charlie, as Charlie is battling with M. Doran on track there. But good start from Speed Queen, wasn't it? She's got the jump on M. Doran, and she's looked good so far. Looked good in qualifying, and there's opportunities here for a first podium of the season if she has a good race today.
SJD all over the rear end of Beck 9000. Those grippy red tyres really working in his favour at the start, and getting much better launch, especially out of turn 12. And it's unfortunately, this is where he just needs to clear the pack ahead and really make use of this fresh rubber very early on. But it's White Fountain who comes across the line. It's a 1 second lead already, as Sammy the Pitto and Scopefield a fight over 2nd and 3rd at the moment, which was something we've seen in the past. And it looks like, will they play the team game like we saw last week? And we, of course, Sam letting Scopefielder through, but unfortunately Scope then picking up front wing damage. But we've got a battle down here between FPL Charlie, who's just sitting behind M. Doran, and Charlie up in 6th position on those hard tyres. So it's a good start for the Mercedes, and he's keeping up the pace, especially with the guys that are on softer tyres around him.
Yeah, definitely. This is exactly what he wants. He's not getting under pressure, as Beck is really under pressure from SJD. SJD having a look and not able to quite get the move done, but SJD just needs to remain calm behind there. He will have the faster car. He just needs to get the move done. But like you say, Charlie, he's looking good at the minute as he's alongside M. Doran. This is a super move on the hard tyre. M. Doran's still not giving up there, side by side, and Charlie pulls off a great move there in Mercedes and takes
just to interrupt
place.
you there, Sam. Sav has run wide there on the exit of turn 11, goes well out onto the runoff area, and that's allowed Speed Queen up into 3rd position. Scopefield promoted up into 2nd, Speed Queen up into 3rd. Sam drops down to 4th. He just got well out of shape coming through the exit of Seam Corner. And now Charlie up into 5th. He's cleared M. Doran with, as you were saying, a sensational move down the inside of Seam Corner. Beck 9000 still holding off SJD, but no, it's not a great start for Sam. And after jumping his teammate, it was a very strange position to go off wide there.
Yeah, that will frustrate the hell out of him. But Speed Queen, she's now up into 3rd place, and usually when she's in these sort of positions, it's very difficult, isn't it, to re-overtake her. She's very good at defending, Speed Queen. She'll be hoping to try and catch up to the back of Scopefield. As we see further down, Nick has overtaken his teammate. Whether that was, I'm not sure if that was a team order there, but they're both, at the minute, both the Alphas are falling back away from Beck 9000. So as this soft tyre strategy backfired on the Alfa Romeos, because at the minute they just do not look like they're going forward.
I think that might have been a little bit of a team call there. It looked like SJD did go wide, but he definitely didn't fight the position when Nick came through. And then equally he had DRS going down into turn 8 at the chicane, but he decided not to make a move. So possibly just deciding to let Nick go and let Nick attack the rear end of Beck 9000 ahead, and seeing if he can pull his and drag his teammate around this track, because SJD now dropping off from Nick a little bit, and Nick now is closed right up to the rear end of Beck. And it's a good start from the Toro Rosso driver. He struggled in the first few races, and but Beck now up into 7th position. He's moved up 1 position from the start. M. Doran unfortunately dropping 2. Speed Queen, she's been passed by Sam back up into 3rd position. He does the fastest lap. It's a 1:35, I believe it was. That's there. Adrian Lockdock with a 3-second penalty there. And what else we got closed on track with Adrian Lockdock? He's fighting over 13th and 14th with Meg Luppy at the moment. SJD, it's a 3-second penalty there. And the stewards at work quite early into this. We're only on lap 4.
Yeah, and it's just turning out For me, for SJD, it's just turning out like it looks like a bad call there. You'd have thought the Alfa Romeos might have split. Oh, it's SJD. The car steps well out on him there. He does very well to hold on to that, but this strategy of the soft tyres really is starting to backfire now. He's dropped down to 1.1 second behind his teammate. Is Nick. He's trying to apply the pressure on Beck, but at the minute Beck's doing a good job, and Beck's slowly starting to catch up to the back of M. Doran, and M. Doran not giving up 5th place either yet. So at the minute we could have a bit of a four-way battle for 5th place, because FPL Charlie is 1.3 seconds off Speed Queen. So just he's keeping in touch, isn't he? But just not quite there at the minute. He's doing a very good job on those hard tyres, and if he can make them last a long time, he could be very quick at the end of the race.
Yeah, Charlie struggling out the exit of turn 7. He got swarmed by Enduran going down into the chicane at turn 8, but luckily for the Mercedes he was able to hold on to the position. But you can see they're on board with Enduran, the orange, green and white helmet of the Irishman, and sitting in this lovely camera view just watching what he's working on his steering wheel as he's looking at the rear gearbox of that Mercedes in front, staying in the drag and in the tow, and he's going to get a nice pull down to turn 1. And this is where Enduran, he needs to make positions back up, because Charlie on those white-walled hard tyres will be going deep into this session and looking to be very quick at the end of it. He's in 5th position, so he's really he's got a pretty decent chance at a good haul of points, because those tyres will last a long time, and he's not being dropped too much by the guys ahead. He's a second behind from Speedway.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Schofield has overtaken White Fountain for the lead. I don't know what White Fountain must have made a mistake, but Schofield has taken the lead. He gained so much time on White Fountain crossing the finish line. He was running very closely, got DRS, and has passed White Fountain for the lead. So somewhere White Fountain must have made a mistake, because now Schofield is in the lead. Sorry to interrupt you there, Gareth, but yeah, Schofield in the lead there.
No, feel free, absolutely, because yeah, it looked like White Fountain had a little bit of a gap between himself and the Swede behind, but unfortunately he must have made a mistake, and the Renault, he's not, I imagine he's not particularly impressed with himself there, and he's stuck on the rear end of the Swede ahead, and look how close they are between the two of them. And the Belgian driver, equally in his country's flagged colours, you can see the blue and the yellow for the Swede of Schofield in the head, the red, the black and the yellow for the Belgian driver of White Fountain in 2nd position. We're nose to tail coming out of turn 14 and turn into turn 15. He has a look to the inside just to get into the mirrors of Schofield to let him know that he's still there and that he wants his 1st position back. But White Fountain, or is that a little bit of a chink in the armour?
It seems so, doesn't it? I don't know where he made the mistake. He clearly did make a mistake. It was 1.5 seconds in the lead, so there was no chance of Schofield picking DRS up. So somewhere, maybe towards the end of the lap, White Fountain made a mistake, but White Fountain is now going to have DRS back on Schofield. Can he close up to the back of that Haas and maybe try a dive down into this chicane here? He might just be a little bit, yes, it's just a little bit too far back, but Schofield smelled some blood, didn't he, there, and he took full advantage of that, and has now put his Haas up into 1st place. Just further down, by the way, Nick has overtaken Beck finally, and he's up in 7th place. He'll be hoping now to, with a bit of free air, trying to claw in M. Doran and try and take 6th place from M. Doran. So Nick now ahead of Beck.
Fantastic battle between FPL Charlie and M. Doran as well in 5th and 6th position, and those two trading positions. M. Doran looked like he got to use that DRS into the chicane, almost had the move done, got ahead very briefly, almost collects the rear end of the Mercedes there going into turn 12, just about misses him. But FPL Charlie getting a much better launch out of turn 9, and we've got a yellow in sector 3. Is it SJD? He's dropping down the field. It is. He's lost it at turn 12, and we'll see its front wing damage, possibly. No, looks like he's just dropped it. The black on the front wing of that Alpha is always a little bit deceptive up against this very dark tarmac here. And but yeah, it was a great little battle between FPL Charlie and M. Doran. They're still going at it, and in fact Nick is now joining that. Beck picks up a 3 second, and M. Doran still staying on the tail of Charlie for 5th position at the moment. White Fountain, he's dropped off a little bit from Sam, and in fact, from Scope, sorry, and what it's done is introduced Sam into it. Sam now just over a second, so he will be under DRS detection very, very shortly. But this is going to be a fantastic battle between Nick, Charlie, and M. Doran very shortly. M. Doran and Nick both with DRS. Unfortunately, Charlie's going to have to deal with some very quick drivers behind him, and he can't quite hold on to the back of Speed Queen to get that DRS to drag him along.
No, but he is doing a fantastic job, isn't he? He's just keeping that gap, isn't he, of just enough that the DRS just isn't working enough for M. Doran and Nick behind. So at the minute, I think Charlie is one out there at the minute to keep an eye on, because like we say, he's going to go very long in this race and he's going to be very fast towards the end. If he can keep these guys, these faster running guys behind him, and keep that gap, he could be on here for a potential podium towards the end of the race.
Yeah, he's looking very squirmish through some of these corners, though perhaps struggling with these tyres. And M. Doran, you can see Charlie there really putting the power down, getting all out of shape coming out of the final corner. That's going to give M. Doran a good run down towards turn 2. DRS wide open for the McLaren. Is he going to swing to the inside and take a look? He does. It's down the inside. He gets the move done. FPL Charlie picks up a 3 second, and he's going to try and stick with it. He's gone back down the inside. This would be a sensational side-by-side down towards turn 3, and they go still side-by-side. Unfortunately, M. Doran running across there felt a little bit spooked, but this is playing into the hands of Nick, who can just stick behind these guys and hope for these guys to make a mistake. But he's going to get an absolute monster of a tow as they exit turn 7 there down the DRS straight. And Nick now, he's going to be right behind M. Doran. DRS wide open for the Alfa Romeo. You can see M. Doran behind Charlie, and Charlie goes to the inside. M. Doran's still going to go for the move. There's contact between the two. Oh, and M. Doran, unfortunately, looks like he's come out worst of it. He drops down to 8th position, and M. Doran, he threw it down the inside. Charlie defended late, but it was his one defensive move. There was contact between the two into the corner, and as we said, it's worked perfectly for Nick, who's fortuitously made his way up into 6th position.
Yeah, it looked like M. Doran had just outbraked himself, didn't he? And there was no way of avoiding the contact. I think Charlie might have got away with that in the end and not picked up any damage, but this now has given the perfect opportunity for Nick to take advantage of Charlie, and Nick does get ahead of Charlie. So Nick now up into 5th place as Scopefielder in the lead, picks up a fastest lap there. He's now 1.6 seconds faster than White Fountain, and Sam very close behind White Fountain, as Charlie must have picked up some damage. Charlie into the pits, so the strategy of the hard tyre running long seems to have really backfired him now through that incident with M. Doran. Yeah,
it was front left end plate damage for the Mercedes car, and like I said earlier, really do struggle with tyres and with aero damage around here. If you pick up any sort of wing related issues, it's a 3 second for Stim there. He struggles down in 10th position. Meg Lugby is in 11th. Unfortunately, Charlie, he's going to come out in 12th. And like you said, the hard tyres, it was a good strategy. He was running well, but you just can't take the risk when you've got wing damage around here. You just absolutely shed time.
Yeah, you do, and he would have been much worse off, wouldn't he, if he'd have stayed on the track with that wing damage. But looking back, all that action behind Speed Queen has only benefited her, hasn't it? Nick, 3 seconds behind. He's hoping to be able to try and reel Speed Queen in, but at the minute, Speed Queen having a kind of a race of her own at the minute. She's 6 seconds behind Sam, and she's got a bit of a cushion behind to 5th, so a bit of a lonely race for Speed Queen, but this is good for her. She's running 4th. It'll be good points to pick up, and if there's any problems at the front or any issues at the front, we could see a podium for Speed Queen.
Got yellow in sector 3. Stim has dropped down behind Meg Lugby. Be interesting to see if there was contact between the two there, but Stim in the Renault, he's dropped down to 11th position. Meg up into the points in 10th position. There's Nick LG Thompson, sorry. He has come in off of those soft tyres, so he's taken the option of coming in off the soft rubber on lap 10. I was just about to say to you, how long do you reckon we could see these Alphas sticking out there on the soft compound? So Nick in on lap 10 of 27, and we'll see what he's gone on to very shortly. and it is the medium. So he's going to go short to medium, and we're going to have a challenge for second position. Sam sweeps around the outside of White Fountain down in the exit of the DRS zone at turn 7, up into second position. We've got a Haas leading and a Haas in second position. Gunther Steiner will be absolutely delighted with that. White Fountain, after what looked like very strong early pace, is really starting to struggle in this sort of mid part of this medium tyre stint.
Yes, he is. I don't know if he's badly locked his tyres up and they're affecting him now. But White Fountain, looking like an early favourite for this race, is falling down a bit. But I expect White Fountain not to give up that second place so easily. He's making sure he can stay behind Sam and potentially use DRS in the next sector. But yeah, from where he was a few laps ago, you was expecting White Fountain to run off into the lead. But now, like you say, Haas first and second, and looking very strong for them, for not only the team, but to both of them in the Drivers' Championships as well.
Absolutely. Sam goes purple with 1:35 flat. This guy in second position. He's got a 2-second gap between himself and his teammate Scopefielder, who's leading the race. M. Doran, he's cruised back up to the rear end of Beck 9000, who's up into 5th position. So Beck in the Toro Rosso's got a bit of a defending to do, because I'm sure he's going to have a slightly angry Irishman sitting behind him, wanting to make up those positions that he fortunately lost with that contact with Charlie a few laps previously. And they're dragging CPI Alex, and Alex on the hard tyres, so he's made up positions. And FPL Charlie, there you go, he goes even faster. He goes purple on a 1:34.9. And but yeah, CPI Alex, he's leading these guys that started on the hards, with Humberstone in 8th and Meg Lugby in 10th as Charlie picks up 3 seconds. And you can see M. Doran, he's going to try and go around the outside into the chicane. It's close between the two. It's a good move there. Who's going to get a better launch out there? Beck's got the inside line, but it now means they're banging wheels as they exit the corner. Now they come into scene. Beck trying to squeeze into the inside of the truck. There's contact between the two, way into the wall. And Beck, that will be interesting to see on the guys' views afterwards, because that looked like a little bit of a rash move there from M. Doran, just trying to squeeze back, possibly feeling a little bit aggrieved that Beck was pushing him towards the entry of the scene corner on the right hand side. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the view is from the stewards after that one.
Yeah, we definitely will have to, as Beck has retired. Unfortunately for him, he was having a better race for him, and he's unfortunately out there. M. Doran has come into the pits after that, but from my point of view, it looked like a swipe from M. Doran. Like you say, we're going to have to wait and see for the stewards to find out what they think. But that was a bit dangerous in the end. I thought we was going to have a good side-by-side battle, and it's ended up costing both drivers dearly, unfortunately for them. M. Doran has come back out on the hard tyres just ahead of CPI Alex. CPI Alex just pretty much given up on those tyres. He's now coming out onto the medium tyres.
Yep, it's all changing. It's worked out with the VSC that we're under at the moment. Of course, cars having to drop down, having to run to a delta, and it does mean these guys that can look after those tyres a little bit. That was very close. Sammy the Pitto slamming on the brakes there, right in front of White Fountain on the exit of the chicane. And White Fountain looks like he's got away with that, but could have been very nasty and really damaged the front wing of the Renault. But White Fountain now, he's dropped it back a little bit, because he was around 3/10 behind, so he's lost around half a second. But yeah, Sam possibly realised that he was just running over his delta and decided to really hammer on the brake there, really slowed down. Looked like it almost caught the Belgian out, but White Fountain still in 3rd position. We've gone 12 laps of 27 at the moment. And on that lap, it was on that last lap, CPI Alex came in off of the hard tyres, and we've got the leader pitting. So Scopefielder in on lap 13 on the medium. So he's got 14 laps left to go. Is he going to go for the hard tyres? He does go for the hard tyres. So it looks like these guys are a little bit nervous to run these mediums long and put on the set of softs.
That is surprising, isn't it? I just want to point out one guy who's having a good race, and that is Meg. Meg's on the hard tyres, 12 laps on the hard tyres, Schofield has just come out ahead of him. He's looking solid at the minute in 5th place. If he can keep these tyres running long, he could look good towards the end of the race. Speed Queen promoted because of Schofield's pit stop up into 3rd place now. So also Speed Queen having a good race. But yeah, Meg in the Red Bull quietly going about his business and has taken advantage of a few incidents and is now to 5th place.
Yeah, Coop said he should be softs to the end. He thinks that Schofield has made a little bit of a faux pas there with the tyre choice, and yeah, it's he says one of the top 3 could win this race if they utilise the soft tyre. So will we see White Fountain or Sam just stretch these mediums out perhaps 2 or 3 laps longer and come in for a set of the soft tyres? We've got FPR Charlie all over the rear end of Humberstone now going towards the chicane. Is the Mercedes going to look to the inside? He pulls to the inside, doesn't quite get the move done. The Williams placing his car in all the right positions. Humberstone, another one who had a good week last week, and
both Sam and White Fountain are in the pits. Sorry to interrupt. Both of them in the pits. It's going to be fascinating to see what tyre strategy these both go for here. Looks like, to me, they are both going on the hard tyres.
Now let's see. Schofielder is coming to the final corner now. What has this undercut done? Because obviously the 2 guys are in the pit lane now. They're coming. Speed Queen, she's dropped in. Now, let's see. Comes to the final. It's going to... Yeah, that undercut is worked quite nicely for Scope. And White Fountain, he's in fact, Meg Luppy up into 3rd position, cuts right across in front of White Fountain. So White Fountain now out just about into traffic. So it's worked pretty nicely for the Haas cars, who didn't have to worry about any cars around them. Unfortunately, White Fountain, he's going to have to get past the Red Bull of Meg Luppy, which, although it shouldn't be too much of an effort on fresh tyres, he's going to lose. Look at the time that he's lost already. He was around just under a second behind Sam, but you can see, look, he's already dropped back a second and a half. He's going to have to get Meg into the DRS. He's going to sweep round the outside, inside, I should say, into the chicane, gets the move done. But that's time wasted that I'm sure that White Fountain wasn't hoping.
No, and we've got potential position change between Nick and Speed Queen. Oh, so close. Nick had DRS on Speed Queen. Nick right up the gearbox of that Ferrari. He nearly got the move done, but Speed Queen defended well and so far keeping hold of that 5th place.
And yep, so Nick in 6th. So once again, another strong run for Nick L.J. Thompson here in the Alfa Romeo. He's done very nicely to start the season. Been very impressive, and he's currently sitting behind a 3-time champion, so he's a pretty good person to watch the lines for. And MJ Coop says Nick's gone for the right strategy. He's gone from the softs to the mediums, and but the top 3 all decided to run on the hard, so all deciding that they weren't going to get the soft rubber to last to the end. So it's going to be interesting to see Nick's pace now, because obviously he will have the softer rubber compared to the guys ahead. But can he make these tyres last? And M. Doran, equally, he's catching Nick at the moment. So M. Doran back on a little bit of a charge after that contact, and as JJ picks up 3. And but yeah, Nick, he needs to clear Speed Queen as soon as possible, really, because although she's on fresher tyres than Nick is. We've got a yellow in sector 2 at the moment. It's Dragio, so Dragio must have lost it in sector 2. Is it at this next corner? We're going to come round now. Do we see a McLaren on the outside? Not likely at the moment. So as Humberstone picks up 3 seconds as well. So got a yellow in sector 2, so no overtaking at the moment, which is frustrating for Nick. And in fact, he just about tried to utilise the green flag, but he's going to lose the position there to M. Doran. We're going to go side by side once again. Now hopefully these two can keep it cleaner than we saw last time. Banging wheels, and yeah, there's a lot more gap between the two. And down into scene, it's going to be the McLaren that's going to sweep through. So Nick, unfortunately, dropping down to 7th position there. Just tried to take the inside line against Speed Queen. Got ran out wide by the Ferrari. And unfortunately for him, it meant that the McLaren was able just to pick up the pieces and take the title line. And he got the run through into scene.
Yeah, that's incredibly frustrating, isn't it, for Nick? Like you say, I think there was slight contact between him and Speed Queen. It just knocked him out wide, and Doran seen the door wide open, and he was straight through it and pretty much steals 6th place off of Nick. Nick will be hoping to get gather himself and retake sixth place back off Enduring. He's just under a second in me. If he can stay there, he will have DRS in the first DRS zone. But yeah, frustrating there for Nick.
We've got a 6-car battle here over 5th position. Speed Queen, she's heading up a field of Doran, Nick, Alex, Charlie and Humbostone. So the guys all out there on the medium tyres, apart from Doran, who's on the hard, and Speed Queen, who's equally just gone to the hard. SJD picks up 3 seconds. He's down in 11th position, so possibly not going for a second race win here around France. Unfortunately, SJD just sitting outside of the points so far. Doran, he's the closest, with Nick following him not too far off behind, but Nick obviously will be looking to make up that position he lost 2 laps previous. And we've got Charlie, who lost it coming out. Has he managed to stay out of the wall? Because if he has, that's mightily impressive. You just in the background there, I saw the Mercedes light up his rear tyres, and Charlie going way wide on the exit of turn 9. Looks like he's kept on track, and he's still held the position with Humbostone behind, but Humbostone now 7 tenths behind the Mercedes. And unfortunately for Charlie, he started on those hard tyres, and it looked like it was all going well for him, but dropping down to 9th position now as he now picks up the 3 seconds. And I hate to say the commentator's curse, but it's Charlie's race falling apart ever so slightly.
Yeah, I think that's his 3rd 3-second time penalty, so not good for Charlie. Meg has finally given up with those hard tyres, and he's gone onto a set of mediums. So I'm very surprised there. I thought he was going to jump on the softs to the end, but clearly doesn't trust those soft tyres. He'll be coming out behind SJD in 11th place, but you'd expect Meg to be pretty quick now on fresh mediums.
Yeah, we'll see if he can go purple and get that into the top 10 and get that extra point for his championship. And at the moment, I believe, I'll just double check it, if it was, I believe it's FPL Charlie who's currently holding the fastest lap. Just see a position change there. It is FPL Charlie with 1:34.2. Got a yellow in sector 1, however. Who has lost it in sector 1 is Stim. So Stim at the moment. Now it's 2 seconds. Stim picks up 3 seconds there, and it's the Haas cars 2 seconds off. Sam off from Scope. White Fountain 3 seconds back from him, and or 3 seconds back from Scope, and then it's a big gap back to Speed Queen. So the top 3 have really made a break for it.
Yes, they really have. I'm watching the current battle for basically 4th place now. The frustration for Nick is that Doran has also got DRS on Speed Queen, so no matter what Nick does, he cannot gain on Doran because Doran has also got DRS. But CPI, Alex and Charlie have all come into this battle now, so you've got a mega battle for 4th place on here.
Yeah, it's a cracking battle going on at the moment. Doran 4 tenths of a second behind Speed Queen in 5th position, fighting for 4th, and it's going to be, it's all going to be who can look after these tyres, and we're going to look to see if Meg Lugby can make any of a fight back. But it looks like he's got a big gap to catch up between 10th and 9th. So Meg probably fighting over the last championship point with SJD this evening. But he's got in with a chance to set in a fast lap, which obviously, like I said, would add to his championship tally. But it's this battle over 4th position that we will be watching for the next few laps or so, because it looks like Doran much closer on using that DRS, but he's pulled Nick right with him. And then equally behind, you can see Charlie and Alex fighting over 7th and 8th position at the moment. And we've seen a couple of fantastic moves into the Scene corner today, and Nick, you can see he thought about just jinking it to the inside there on the exit of Scene corner. And unfortunately around here, this section of the track tab it's really not available for overtaking, is it?
No, it really isn't. It's a case of follow the leader, isn't it? Round here, you've just got to try and stick to the car in front of you as close as possible to try and utilise that DRS down the start-finish straight. Doran is pretty close now to Speed Queen, dragging along Nick. Just behind, Charlie has managed to pass Alex as Doran alongside Speed Queen and gets the move done finally for his sake. He's now up into 4th place with Nick now wanting to probably take advantage of this and get past Speed Queen, but Speed Queen will definitely not want to give this up. She would imagine will have DRS in the next section, so maybe Speed Queen can get back at Endoran, but Endoran must have been a bit frustrated behind there, but finally gets the move done.
Yeah, back up into fourth position for the McLaren, and back up into decent points position for the Irishman, and we'll look to see, or you can see there Speed Queen trying to break the toe of Nick behind, equally trying to stay in, and McLaren's ahead, and Nick's going to stay with her, but he's not going to make a move this time, and he doesn't want to do what he did last time, where he tried to go side by side with Speed Queen into the chicane and lost a position, because he's now got Charlie all over the gearbox of him, but Nick very, very close to the Ferrari now coming into turn 10, and equally Charlie really, really sitting behind the Alfa Romeo, and we've seen Charlie before go for gaps that don't tend to exist. So will we see the Mercedes throw it down the inside? He's very much our Daniel Ricciardo. We've got a yellow in sector 1 as Charlie get very close to the back of the Alfa. They're running out wide. That's not going to help him at all. Get all that pick up onto your tyres and get losing a little bit of grip and a little bit of downforce offline. But Nick now, he's much closer to Speed Queen, and he's really got to utilise these medium tyres, because they will slowly fade away from him compared to Speed Queen, who can relatively rely on these hards taking her to the end of the race.
Yeah, you definitely took the words out of my mouth there. I was just about to say very similar. The moves medium tyres need to be taken advantage of, and he needs to try and get the move done sooner rather than later. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3, and SJD has retired from the sessions. Not sure if he's had an accident there, but SJD out. Tough race for SJD, hasn't it been?
Yeah, SJD 3 seconds for White Fountain. Ooh. So that could really upset the Renault driver if he was looking at getting the race win tonight. Nick now, he's looking to the inside of Speed Queen, go down into the chicane, but unfortunately we're now under the VSC, so absolutely worst place that could have happened, or worst time that could have happened for Nick. He was shaping up the Ferrari down into the chicane, and as he pulled to the inside, out comes the VSC, neutralises the field. These cars once again running to a delta, having to drop their pace by 40%, and unfortunately the only thing this works in Nick's favour is it does give him a little bit of a breather to give those tyres a little bit of a rest.
Yes, it does. I felt really sorry for Nick there, because I thought he was going to get the move done as Speed Queen slammed the brakes on there. It's very similar to Sam, but not quite as harshly. She must have been going a bit too quickly. But yeah, very frustrating as the VSC ends, and Nick now can get back on the hunt. Speed Queen is 1.3 seconds behind Endor now, so Nick, if he can get up to the back of that Ferrari, has an opportunity to really get the DRS to work, because Speed Queen won't have DRS to defend from Nick.
Yeah, it looked like Nick was sleeping a little bit on the exit of that VSC, and he dropped a little bit of time. Of course, he was much closer to Speed Queen at the end of that. At the end of when the VSC began, I should say, and it's allowed Charlie to stay with him equally. But we've still got this pretty magnificent trail of cars at the moment. A pretty expensive car park going on at the moment, following Speed Queen, as we've got Speed Queen, Nick, Charlie, Alex, and just about Humbostone being dragged along, fighting over 5th position, because M. Doran looks like he's broken away a little bit. He's got 1.3 second gap, and Charlie all over the rear end of Nick and running out wide again, and Charlie really feisty. He's now going to try and go around the outside of the scene, and this would be a backing overtake if he can get it done, and he's got it done. What a move from Charlie. Is Nick going to try and stay with him? He isn't. Charlie goes around the outside of scene corner.
Wow, that was some move, wasn't it? He gets the move done. Can he now focus on Speed Queen and get some gap? Because if you recall, Charlie has picked up several time penalties. So at the minute, this is not going to do him any good. He needs to try and build a lead up if possible for these last 5 laps. It's going to be difficult with all the cars closely behind him, as Stim picks up a 3-second time penalty. But super move from Charlie there, as CPI Alex is also now looking at Nick. So wondering if those medium tyres, Nick may have took too much out of them. He seems to be slipping back slightly now, Nick, as CPI Alex is hot on the back of that Alfa Romeo.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from MJ Coop watching, because he was pretty nailed on for thinking that the soft and medium was the strategy to be on. But it looks like Nick's starting to struggle. He's the only driver that has gone for the two softest compounds available this evening, and he's starting to fall away. And like you said, it's CPI Alex now. He is just about to cruise around the outside by the looks of it of Nick going into the chicane. Can Nick hold the inside? He's just about trying to stick with it. There's nice respectful racing between the two, not even a bang of wheels, but unfortunately for Nick, he's dropped a position. Alex now up into 7th position, and now Nick unfortunately is going to fall into the clutches of Humberstone only 1/10 behind, and you can see the effect of the medium tyres starting to wear off, and we've still got 5 laps left to go.
Yes, and just slightly ahead, Charlie has had the move done on Speed Queen down into that chicane. Charlie now going to be hot on the tail, you would say, of M. Door, and he's going to want to try and build a gap behind us. Stim, 133.3, fastest lap on the soft tyres. He's down in 11th place at the minute.
Yeah, well outside of a points-paying position at the moment, and unfortunately not with positions, but with time. You can see he's almost a lap down now. So Stim, unfortunately, in the 11th position, so he would be taking that 1 point away from whoever would have set the fastest lap, which I believe was still sitting with Charlie. But we've got CPI Alex. He's starting to catch up to Speed Queen, and we saw these two fighting in Monaco last week, and there was definitely no quarters given between either of them. So expect to see these two get their elbows out once again, because although they are teammates, Alex is definitely going to try and give Speed Queen a run for her money, because he's definitely no slouch.
No, he's not, and he's starting to really come alive towards the end of this race, isn't he, Alex? He's had a quieter race than what we usually expect from him, but starting to now climb back up those positions, and he'll be aiming to try and steal 6th place off his teammate. He looks to be the faster Ferrari out there, so it makes you wonder whether he will have much of a challenge, or whether Speed Queen decides to stick her elbows somewhat and say, look, I'm still around here. You need to work for this position if you really want 6th.
Yeah, and of course Alex, he's no stranger to the podium. We've seen him on the podium multiple times last season, so we know that he can definitely fight at the front, but currently sitting in 7th position at the moment. But he needs to clear his teammate. He has DRS, but equally behind you've got this battle between Nick and Humberstone, as Stim picks up another 3 seconds there. So it's been a bit of a race to forget for the debutants, as Charlie picks up another 3 seconds there. So that's really going to harm the Mercedes.
Yeah, I think now he's up to 12 seconds worth of penalties. I'm positive that's what it's at. And if it is, that unfortunately for him will probably drop him down to about 9th place, which is a shame for Charlie, because once again we've seen some fantastic overtakes like last week. As a Ferrari has gone super wide there. It's CPI Alex, and I don't know if he had any contact with his teammate, but that's allowed Nick and Humberstone to take advantage, and unluckily for Alex, he's now dropped down to 9th place.
Yeah, it just looked like he floored the throttle pedal on the exit of turn 6 into turn 7, got all out of shape, lost the rear end, got sideways onto the rumble strips on the outside of the track, and that's allowed Nick through. And I believe it was caused by the fact that Speed Queen's starting to struggle, and in fact Nick's going to try and go to the inside. This would be another great move, and he's going to stick to the inside around turn 11. They're banging wheels. Speed Queen, trust me, if she will not let you pass, and Nick's almost going to lose that position. He's desperately trying to get past Speed Queen. She's done 10 laps on the hard, so possibly just overheating the tyres a little bit, because they won't be dying. They've definitely got a lot of tyre life left in them, but possibly just overheated them ever so slightly. But Nick now right back onto the Taylor Speed Queen. And just after we thought that he was struggling for pace, he's now back up the inside, up into 6th position. Alpha back up into the top 6, while Speed Queen, she's going to try and come back. She gets a much better launch out of turn 2. They're going to go side by side down towards turn 3. Who's going to yield first on the brakes? It's Speed Queen, but there's contact between the two. Nick's going to have to take to the escape road, and it means Humbo Stone's going to go around the outside. There's a little bit more contact. And Speed Queen still trying not to give up this position. And who's going to get DRS here? I can't even work out who came across that line first. It's going to be Humbo Stone. He's got the DRS and the position, so that's going to give him the advantage going down the straight. And Speed Queen loses 2 positions in less than a... Oh, she's going to go deep into the chicane as well. Is she going to lose the position to her teammate? Because Alex is going to go around the outside of her. So, wow, Speed Queen loses 3 positions in less than 2 sectors.
Wow. That was some racing, wasn't it, there? Like you say, we didn't have a clue who was going to get DRS or anything there. Feel for Speed Queen there. She really struggled there. She got assaulted from all different directions, didn't she? And it's ended up benefiting both CPI, Alex Humberstone, and Nick. And Nick now, if he can break that gap from Humberstone and break that DRS, he will have a super opportunity then to claim 5th place from Charlie. Charlie, remember, he's got to... I think at least 12 seconds worth of penalties. So currently Nick, who's 4.5 seconds behind Charlie, on for a solid 5th place here if he can keep Humberstone behind him.
You've got a yellow in sector 1 at the moment. Who's that? Because I can't see anyone dropping. It must be Stim. Is it him getting lapped? It looks like it would be very, very shortly. But yeah, the Ferrari's still nose to tail on track, and now Alex is the one ahead, and I imagine he's going to have a very displeased Speed Queen sitting behind. And unfortunately, it's just the nature of Formula 1, and once you've got a gaggle of cars, if you get hung out to dry by the first one, you usually get swallowed up by the rest of them behind, and that's exactly what happened. She had that little bit of an incident with Nick down into turn 3 and turn 4, got passed by Humberstone, and then of course she went a little bit too hot into the chicane, just caught in the toe of the car in front, goes deep. Alex up into 8th position. But the Ferrari team dropped down 8th and 9th when they were running a little bit higher, about 5 or 6 laps ago. So all the excitement, it's not really worked out for the Scuderia team.
No, it hasn't, and just slightly ahead. Humberstone is pretty much pushing Nick along now. He was about 2/10 behind him. He's looking red hot in that Rocket Williams at the minute behind the Alfa Romeo. Humberstone is pretty much going to make it very difficult for Nick coming up to the final lap. He's going to want to steal that 6th place and potentially 5th place, and Humberstone definitely not giving up on Nick just yet. And
just like that, and I hadn't even paid attention to that, we're on the final lap of the race. We're on lap 27 of 27, and we will catch on board with Schofielder, who looks like, if all goes to plan, that he will cross the line and take his first race victory of the season, and we could potentially see a Haas 1-2 and Sam once again in the podium positions, and M. Doran in 4th at the moment. We've got this battle between Nick, Humberstone and Alex still ongoing as Stim picks up another 3 seconds, so it really is a race to figure for him. Let's see, Schofield, he's just coming up to Scene Corner now, as you can see the top 3 all in the same picture there, but not quite close enough to take effect, and I believe White Fountain has a penalty to be applied as well, so it looks like the... If I can remember, it's Humberstone Humberstone 3 seconds. That's a killer on the last lap of the race. Is that going to affect his race? And I don't believe I've seen Alex or Speed Queen pick up a penalty, and that could theoretically drop him to 9th position, which would be a disaster because he's had a really decent race.
Oh, he's touched Nick. Sorry to interrupt. He's touched Nick and he's spun out. He's touched Nick and spun out. Sorry to interrupt. I know Schofield is crossing the finish line. Congratulations him, but Humberstone tried it down the inside of Nick, touched the right rear tyre, and he's completely spun out, and that has ruined anything of his race now. You should expect him to finish 9th. Sorry about that.
Just to come on board with FPL, Charlie spun on the exit of turn 12. So Charlie drops down out of 5th position. So Nick comes across the line in 5th. Alex and Speed Queen are promoted to 6th and 7th. Charlie is going to come across the line disaster. Although he has several penalties, this could potentially drop him outside of, or down to the 10th position. It
10th.
does
He
drop
was
him down
10th.
to 10th. So disaster for Charlie, who had a lot of penalties, but could have potentially picked up maybe 2 or 3 points. He's dropped down. He only picks up one now, but yeah, congratulations. We just caught it as Scopefielder crossed the line. But there is your podium for this evening. It's the Swedish driver Scopefielder takes the first race victory of the season ahead of his Haas teammate Sam. And White Fountain makes it another podium. And Sam, that's 3 podiums in 3 races now. Scopefielder back into winning ways for him. And equally, White Fountain, as Coop said earlier in the session, a potential challenger, because that's another strong race from the Belgian. But what a finish to the end of that race!
Oh, wasn't it just? I feel for the top 3 in the end, because for me, I didn't really watch them at all. That battle in the end for 5th place was absolutely fascinating, and drama on the last lap. But yeah, another great race there, and congratulations to Scopefield, Sam, and White Fountain on getting on the podium there. We shall hopefully be hearing from them shortly.
Absolutely. So there are your race results. You've got Scopefielder takes the race victory in 43 minutes 38 seconds. Sammy the Pitto in second. White Fountain in third, with M. Doran in fourth. Nick L.J. Thompson, great result for him, in 5th position ahead of CPI Alex. Speed Queen in 7th, Humberstone 8th. Meg Lugby in 9th position. Charlie unfortunately drops down to 10th. And unfortunately Stim drops down and with 18-second penalties. And we lost Dragio, Adria Lockdock and Beck 9000. And it was a great race from Scopefielder there, who had to fight early for that position, and equally it was down to consistency, you'd say, for him.
Yeah, most definitely. We'll hopefully hear what happened to White Fountain, because he was looking comfortable, wasn't he? And once he got into that lead, he really didn't look back from there, and drove home superbly. We was a bit unsure why he went with those hard tyres, but it paid off in the end for him. And yeah, he brings home 1st place and brings home a super race, a perfect race for the Haas team, 1st and 2nd place. Yeah, Scofield will probably say it's back where he belongs, won't he? But yes, good race for him tonight.
Yeah, and just what he needed after that result last week in Monaco. So he picks up a decent haul of points, but and equally, that's a fantastic result tonight for the Haas team, who pick up maximum points in the championship for themselves as a finishing 1st and 2nd on track. Whilst Nick, I'm sure, would be delighted with that, with 5th position. But yeah, it was a fantastic result for the top 3, all picking up some decent points. And with Scott unfortunately not being able to make the race tonight, that's going to blow this championship wide open in the early stages. Of course, only 3 rounds down. We've got plenty more left to go, and we head to Japan next week for the race around Suzuka, the only figure 8 circuit on the F1 calendar, which should be another fantastic race. And we've got the guys joining us for the post-race interviews very shortly. We've just seen 2 of them join now, just waiting for the 3rd one to join. I believe we're still waiting on Sam.
We've got them all now.
Oh, fantastic. So, Sab, do you want to lead with any of the questions this evening?
I can ask and congratulate Schofield. Certainly, a great race for you. You was behind White Fountain early on. I'm not sure what happened with him, but you managed to take the lead and you didn't look back. So how was the race for you?
Yeah, it was a pretty good race for me. I think I had decent pace all race long. The key was passing White Fountain pretty early and then get out of his DRS. Didn't think I would manage that because the DRS is pretty powerful on this track, but it worked out in the end. I think I got a bit lucky with some virtual safety cars, so I could save up my ERS a bit. So yeah, a good race.
Yes, congratulations, Schofield. You're probably back where you believe you belong at the front, especially after last week where you struggled slightly in Monaco. On to you, Sam. Sam, that was it's another podium for you, 2nd place. A solid race overall for both you and Schofield. Maximum points for the Haas team. How was your race for you, and how was it battling with White Fountain and Schofield tonight?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, some decent points. And just to say, Schofield just drove very well, had good pace, didn't do any mistakes. I was asking my engineer to, I mean, if he had some penalties, but he didn't, so props to him. And then Wine Fountain again, and nice race, yeah, I mean, it was very close. Just keeping away from the from cutting corners, so I couldn't get my penalties. And into lap one, I had a mistake. I just lost the rear. I went too fast, too aggressive, and Scope and White Fountain and Speed Queen passed me, and I had to recover. But then I just couldn't close up to Scope. Yeah, just good points.
Yeah, that's good points. And once again, you picked up another podium, so it'll be definitely good points for the Drivers' Championship. On to you, White Fountain. You drove a superb pole position in those tricky wet conditions. How did the race go for you? You was leading, and unfortunately ended up not where you felt you should have finished, but in third place, but still good points. How did it come about that you ended up slipping behind both those Haas guys?
Yeah, I had a really good start in the beginning of the race, but after 3, 4 laps, I felt uncomfortable on the medium tire, and I felt that Scope and Samu were quicker than me, and well, they had easy passes on the straights with DRS. So, but through the whole race, I think we had similar pace because we ended like 4 or 3 seconds apart from each other. So yeah, it was just the beginning that went bad for me on the mediums, because on the hard tire I think I could follow Samu and I came closer until lap 22 when I went all in with fuel and energy, and I got a penalty. So I knew from then that third was the highest position I could get.
Third place is still pretty good, and I'm sure you'll be just as quick next time in Japan. Do you have any questions, Gareth, before we finish off?
Yeah, I just chime in quickly, and obviously I'll put it forward to Scope first, but did you consider running possibly longer on the mediums and going softs at the end, or was the plan always to go onto the hards at the end?
Nah, the softs were never an option, because I think if I stretched the mediums, I would have got a huge undercut from both Sam and White Fountain, so that was not really an option. No.
Okay, yeah. Is it either of the two behind Sam? Was it ever anything you thought about when you were fighting as potentially just changing up the strategy?
Not really. I mean, it was so close. I didn't want to risk. Well, I thought to go a bit longer on the mediums, because I had the pace on the mediums, but then I realized that the hards were fast too. So not really nothing I could do with the strategy.
Nice one. And just finally to White Fountain, we head to Suzuka next week. Is it a circuit that you look forward to? And obviously Scope's done well there in the past, and Sam's equally, I believe last season did very nicely around Suzuka. Is it one that you're looking forward to?
Not really. Suzuka is not really one of my favorites. I have some problems with the last in the second sector there. So, but I thought France would be not so good too, and I got pole and third. So let's see next week what the race and qualifying will bring.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations, guys. A fantastic race. Well done for picking up a podium. Congratulations, Scope, for your first win of the season. I'm sure we'll see you here many times more over the next few months and few races. But yeah, that's it for the podium interviews, guys. So if you wanna leave, feel free. And congratulations and thanks for joining us. And we'll just be wrapping up for tonight. And Sab, looking back over the race, were there any particular moments that you thought really made the race stand out? Was there anything that you'd like to look back on, or any contentious moments?
I'd say contentious moments was that with M. Doran, and it just I'd like to be able to see that back from different angles if possible. It looked to me like it was a clear swipe. I hope it wasn't, because you don't ever want to see that type of driving. But if it wasn't and it was just a case of coming together, then Endoran once again has scored good points tonight. He finished fourth, didn't he? And got on the podium last week. So Endoran looking good in his McLaren. But that battle for fifth right at the end as well, we couldn't really even cover the win crossing the finish line because there was still drama happening behind it. It looked like Humberstone had just tagged Nick on the right rear, and it just sent him out in a spin, and then just ahead, like you pointed out, with Charlie as well. So you just couldn't keep your eyes off the race again. Once again, we've been treated to a fascinating race tonight, and three races in now, we could be sat here all night talking about it, and it's absolutely a pleasure to be part of commentating this.
Yeah, the drama going down to the final lap of the race, and like you say, that's three fantastic races to open the season, and three different winners, and there's so much talent on the grid that you wouldn't really underestimate the fact that we could probably go through the first half of the season and have someone different standing on the top step of the podium each race, because there's so much potential for decent battling on track, but then equally you've got a load of guys ready to come back and take the fight to the likes of Scott and White Fountain and Scopefielder. So who's to say that we won't have 6, possibly more different race winners this season?
I definitely agree, and you mentioned Scott there. He's going to want to come back next week, and he's going to be aiming for that top step, isn't he? He's lost out some points tonight to his title rivals, and he won't want to lose many more points early on in the season, because you really don't want to be playing catch up, because it makes it even harder and the pressure mounts even more, doesn't it? So Scopefield, who wins tonight, will definitely be happy he's back up there. He'll be very racy next week, as well as Sam, who's always seems to be on the podium, doesn't he? So it's going to be very difficult next week with White Fountain as well, for Scott to make his impression on this league.
Yeah, absolutely. So Scott will be looking at coming back and picking up his first victory of the season next week in Suzuka. As Charlie says, his tyres were on 75% at the end. He wasn't doing donuts on purpose, and yeah, unfortunately it happened right on the last lap at the worst possible time. But yeah, congratulations to all drivers tonight for a great race. As always, really well done for everyone. And it was an interesting one from start to finish. Of course, we had the rainy session for qualifying, back in the drive for the race. We saw a fantastic battle in the opening stages for the top 3 positions, and then in the late stages between 5th down to 9th position. So make sure, if you haven't caught the entire race, that you go back and watch it. It'll be uploaded to YouTube as soon as the stream is finished, so make sure you catch it from this evening into tomorrow morning. You can follow us on Invictus RL on Twitter and on Instagram, and Invictus Racing League on Facebook. And if you want to get yourself on the grid here at Invictus, go to the website invictusracingleague.com, go to the Apply Now section, and equally, if you want to speak to one of the admins, you can drop us a message on there, or equally send a DM into one of our social media channels. We're happy to get you as part of the grid and the community moving forward. And then equally, if F1's not your thing, we do GT Sport on a Thursday night, GT Sport, and that one is equally a hugely competitive league this season, looking really good. They just had their first pre-season race last Thursday and have got their season coming up very shortly. If you want to find out more about that, go to the website invictusracingleague.com. There is a news story on the homepage at the moment. But if you'd like to listen to more of Sabanite, that's also on Thursday nights. Thursday night here on twitch.tv at 8 p.m. we do a live podcast, which then will get put on SoundCloud, Spotify and Podbean the next day. So if you'd like to hear more about our thoughts about Formula 1 and about Invictus, we will be talking and warbling all on Thursday nights here on twitch.tv. So make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking that subscribe button to be notified when we go live. And then equally, if you'd like to support the channel and support the league, you can go to the Invictus section on the website, where you can donate if you'd like to find out anything more about it. And equally, if you're a community member or a driver, there are perks that come along with that donation. So make sure you check out the Invictus section on the website. But for tonight and this week, Thank you very much for joining me. Congratulations to Scopefielder once again for his race victory tonight, and Sam and White Fountain for their podium. We'll be back next Monday at 8 p.m. at the Japanese Grand Prix in Suzuka. But from tonight, it's a very, very good night from Sav and I.